Okay, so backtrack though. You need G double prime to change sign. And if G has an integral in it, then G double prime is really what? We wrote this down yesterday. F prime. Very good. So I'm going to write that down here. You probably already have it on your paper somewhere. Okay, but if I want a point of inflection, I need G double prime, which is really F prime, to change sign. Okay, and then as Eileen just said, F prime counts as the slope. So look at your graph, and I want you to put X's everywhere that the slope changes direction. Okay, it has to change sign, either plus to minus or minus to plus. There should be 5 places where that happens. 5 places where that happens. Where's the first one? Okay, 0. Good. Where else? 2, 4, 8, and 10. Good. So you would list out in part E, X equals 0, 2, 4, 8, and 10. Now, for the justify, okay, this is where I've had some questions on if you have to state F prime. You have to talk about the evidence that you were given. If they gave me F, then what is F prime in that? That's the slope. Then you have to state that because you have to connect whatever you're talking about to what you were given. So I would say because G double prime, the slope of F changes sign. Okay? Mark, you with this back there? Yes? Okay, last part. Find where G of X is less than 0. Okay, you should have this on your paper, but what is G of X the same as? Okay, G prime is F. What is G of X? It's the integral, right? From 2 to X. Yep, and that would be the area. So listen, if I want, it says G of X to be less than 0, then where does my area need to be? It has to be above or below? Below. And if there's both, there has to be more below. So look at your graph. Where am I starting my integral from every time? 2. Okay, so ready? Look at 2. I'm going to integrate forward first. So as I integrate forward, it's nice that I have this blank graph. Okay, tell me, say beep when it turns negative. Okay, so you're going to get it wrong. Okay, I'm starting at 2. Ready? So I'm shading forward in my integral. Nope. What happens in these 2 sections? They cancel out. So even though this piece is negative, okay, I knew somebody would beep early. Okay, it's because, yep, I already have all this positive stuff up top. And so as I accumulate this negative, it's bringing me back to 0, but it's not actually negative overall because I already have this entire triangle up top, yeah? Okay, now tell me when. Ready? Yep, 10 to 12. Good. Okay, so put 10 to 12. Okay, and remember, why does it turn negative at that point? Because at 10, there is now more area below than there was above. Okay, so good. All right, so we're going to put 10 to 12 union. There's another section. Oops. Okay, 10 to 12 union. And then we're going to go back up and look at our graph again. Now, first I started integrating forward. Now we're going to integrate backwards, but where are we still starting at? 2. Okay, so look at your graph, start at 2, and then I want you to beep when it starts to be negative. Okay, ready? We'll do a different color. Okay, we'll start at pink. Okay, ready? So I'm integrating starting at 2. Beep when it's negative. Yup, who beeped? You're right. Why did you beep right away? Hey, good. Okay, look, all this area, okay, even though it's above, if I'm going backwards, that counts as a negative. Now, question, when I get to 2, do you stop beeping? No, you have to stay beeping, because why? If all this was negative, this is not going to be able to cancel it out and bring me back to an overall positive value. Does that make sense? Okay, so I would say from 2 all the way back to negative 4, all of that is going to come out to be negative. Okay? Now, when you do your integral or interval, you should go negative 4 to 2, like go left to right. But this entire chunk is going to be negative because although most of it's above, that counts as backwards. Okay? And then they did not ask you to justify, so you don't have to justify. If you got it right, you just get the point. Okay? Good. All right, turn the page. Okay. Let's look at part A. So, was anybody gone yesterday? Yeah. No, you weren't. You really were? And you beeped correctly? Wow. Huh? Wow. Okay. So, part A, I'll do A, you're going to do B. Okay? So, part A, I want G of 0. Notice that G of X is right here. So when I do G of 0, just to get you back on track, that would be the integral from 0 goes where X is, which is here. So it'll be from negative 3 till 0. Okay, then f of t. Shade that in on your graph. So from negative 3 to 0, am I going forward or backwards? That counts as a forward, good. Okay, what shape did you shade? Trapezoid. Okay, if you're one of those people that always breaks it up into a triangle and then a rectangle, fine. Okay, annoying, but you can do that. Okay, so it'd be 1/2. I have to add my bases. What are my bases? Yep, and how long are they? This one is how tall? Give me the height, though. 2 and 1. So I do 2 plus 1. And then I need to multiply by the width, which is really the height. So how far is that? 3. Okay, and then keep in mind that when you're doing area, you're really just considering if it's positive or negative. Okay? So you can simplify that if you want to. I'm going to, because later on we're going to have to do it anyway. So 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9, so that's 9/2. Okay, next I'm asked to find G prime of 0. So to find G prime of 0, I need to find G prime of X. This is what we learned yesterday on the front page of your notes. When you take the derivative of an integral, what do you get? F of X. Very good. And remember that F of X is what's in my graph. Okay, now, just anticipating that we're going to have to find G double prime, what is G double prime going to be? F prime. Okay? So now let's find those. Okay? Yeah, sure. Hi, Zane. Yeah, you can just sit there. Or you can sit at my desk if you want, whatever you want. Say hi, Zane. Okay. Thanks, Tanya. Okay, so we're here. We want G prime of 0. But then we know that that's really f of x, which is in the graph. It's not area, it's the y value. Perfect. Okay? So look at your graph. What is G prime of 0 if it's really just f of 0? 1. Good. Okay, then next I want G double prime of 0, which is really f prime of 0. It'd be the slope, and at 0, what happens? Yep, a thingy-mabobber. It's only a corner if they're both straight. So if one of them's curved, it's a cusp. DNE. Okay, and then you would say, because f has a cusp at x equals 0. Now, the AP test will also accept, if you ever forget that word, they'll accept a sharp turn. They actually used to accept a doinky point, but they don't accept that anymore, so you can't call it that. Okay, got it? Alright, now you do part B. Okay? Really, you should be able to do B, C, and E. And then we'll come back and do D together. Okay, and I'll bring you a cookie. Okay? B, C, E. Yeah. Can you see these gangster glasses right now? You can work together if you want. Yeah. Well, so it does matter, but think about, you found this area last time it was 8, right? So think about, from here to here I get to -8. I am adding these 4 units, but if I add 4 to -8, what's the result? Still negative. So that's why you're right that this chunk is going to come out to be positive, but if I'm adding it to all that negative, it's not going to be enough. Kind of like here, right? I accumulate this triangle above. It doesn't immediately turn negative. I have to wait till I cancel this out to get me back down to 0 to then move into the plus. Yes. But it's just not enough to cancel out the negative before. That's right. You want a cookie? Let's take it today. You know, I marked it on mine. Everyone just said everywhere. I didn't think I see that today. I haven't seen it. No one?
You did it kind of here too.
So I'm actually kind of love
Well, in that case, I do want to.
Why did you make your 1 negative? Good job. Got one. Okay, listen, this is sad, but I might run out, so then you'll have to have some questions. No? This one, make sure you're only. Oh, you're. Oh.
Well, you have to register for like 3 days.
And then if y'all haven't noticed on your homework, all the ones with asterisks are chain rule. We're learning that tomorrow. So if you are working on your homework already, don't do those. You're not. Good to know that wasn't a whole school. Oh no. You miss Marcel? Yeah. He seems less motivated without you next to him. The wind beneath his wings. Marcel, you working?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, good. So you turn your area negative because it's backwards, that's right.
My body needs a lot of food. I'm big.
Okay, what'd y'all get for the first part? For f of -4. 1 or -1? -1 because it's backwards. What'd you get for f prime of -4? 0, is that right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what about the second derivative? 2, good. Good, good, good. Okay, so part C, you're finding critical numbers. Where are those? All of the x-intercepts, right, just to get you started. And then remember, it can be a max, a min, or neither. You're looking for a sign change. Okay? So keep going with that. And then if you remember how to do part D from yesterday, then do it. But if not, we'll do that one in a second. And then write out your justification so that you can see if it's enough.
So,
What the heck is it? Yoel is at Top Golf. He's not even good at these. Careful with them. Okay, message him and say, I'm displeased by this. Very displeased.
I saw a video of you singing Borak Yellow.
To what?
Borak Yellow.
How did you see that? Who did that?
It was on Snapchat.
Oh. Well, I was singing it wonderfully, I bet.
were,
So,
yeah.
thank you. It's a karaoke fave, you know? Oh, that was on Friday before spring break, I think. Yeah. You read about that. Yes? Okay, because when you do set up your integral, remember this is supposed to be the smaller number. So negative 4 is actually smaller. What I think about is if it's negative 3 to negative 4, you're going to go up. So that's kind of also why it's so that'd be the slope, and I just counted the right. So if I go from here, it's up to.
Yeah, C. For C.
Okay, where is my max?
Your min is what?
Where is the relative max?
3.
Okay, 3. Where is my min? Okay, relative maximum. Negative 4 is a relative minimum. And then where's my neither? 1. Okay, now remember that if it had asked you to find extrema, then you wouldn't have to put the neither. But if it says critical numbers, that touches 0, that qualifies as a critical number. Okay, even though it's not a min or a max. So then for your justification, I'm just going to do it for one of them, but you should have put this. G prime, which is f of x, yes, changes from the first one was positive to negative. Okay, and then for your negative 4, it should be pretty much the same except negative to positive, and then for neither, it should be that it doesn't change sign. I'll write that one. Okay, because g prime of x, which is f of x, doesn't change sign. Okay, part D. So it says find the absolute minimum. So these are relative mins and maxes. What's different for absolute? You have to do the what? Candidates chart. So what goes in my candidates chart? Okay, my min, which was at negative 4. What else? My max, which was 3. And then what else? The endpoints. Very good. So negative 5 and 4. Now, quick question. If they ask me for absolute extrema, that means they want to know the absolute max and the absolute min, right? Okay, they only ask me for an absolute minimum. Who do I know is not going to win if I want a minimum? 3, because why? 3 is a max. Okay, we already know if that's a maximum in its own little area, then it's not going to be the smallest point all the way across. Now, the other thing I would go back and look at is, did we already find any of these in part A? Or B? We found G of negative 4 in part B. What was it? It was negative 1. So I would just fill that in. We already did that in part B. And so you don't want to redo a bunch of work if you're on a timed test. Okay, then from here, I need to find negative 5 and I need to find 4. So I'm going to find G of negative 5 first, G of 4 second. And remember that G is the function that still has the integral in it. Where does the integral start every time? negative, yep, 3. So it'd be negative 3 to negative 5, and then negative 3 till 4. Okay, so do both of those. Okay, anything wrong with the order on negative 3 to negative 5? It is backwards. Does it end up mattering though? No, because what happens with when I go from negative 3 to 5? I get 1 on top, 1 on bottom. Those do what? They cancel out, so they'd be 0. So it doesn't even really matter that it's backwards. It comes out to be 0 because the areas cancel. Okay? All right, now let's do 4. 4 is a little bit tricky. I want you to shade the area on the graph from negative 3 to 4. Okay, negative 3 to 4. What'd you say? Yeah. Okay, so I already know this piece right here. It was 9/2, right? We did that earlier. Okay, and I have to shade from negative 3 all the way to 4. Which pieces of that do I not care about? What? Yeah. Okay, so from 2 to 4, what's going to happen with my areas? Okay, good. So this guy and this guy, those are gone. Nobody really cares about those. Okay, I already know this piece. That means the only piece left is the part under the little ramp. Okay, I'm going to give you like 10 seconds. Think about how you'd find the area of that. Think back to like, I don't know, even when you did that. Okay, you can find the area of that. Okay, ideas? Yes. Okay, you'd have to do the big shape minus the little shape. So if I want only this part, then I would need to do the area of the rectangle, and then you would need to minus out the half circle. Okay, and that's probably the hardest shape that they're going to give you on the AP test, would be something like that where you have to minus something out. So what is the area of the rectangle in the picture? Okay, multiply base times height. So my base is 2, my height is 1, so it'd be 2 minus. And then what's the area of my half circle? What's my radius? Is my radius 2? 1. Because remember, the diameter is 2, that means the radius is only half. So it'd be pi times 1 squared, is that right? But I only want half of it, so half. Good? So then it'd be 2 minus pi over 2. Now, that's only for this chunk. What else do I need to add to that? The 9/2, well, the trapezoid. Remember, the triangles I'm not considering because those two cancel each other out. Okay? So come down to your chart. So I have 9/2 plus 2 minus pi halves. I have 9/2 plus 2 minus pi halves. Okay, so I'm going to just leave it just like that. That'd be, actually this is 4.5 plus 2, what's that? 6.5 minus pi halves. Okay, now looking at those 3 numbers, remember we're not really looking at the max. Okay, which of those is the biggest? Or I'm sorry, we want a minimum. Which one's the smallest? -1. Okay, and here's how you can estimate with pi. Remember, pi is like 3.14. Just pretend it's 3. So if that's 3/2, that's like 1.5. So if I do 6.5 minus 1.5, that's about 5. So we know it's positive. Well, if this is positive, that's negative, that's 0, then negative is the smallest. Okay, so write it out. Absolute minimum is -4. Is that right? Got 'em. No, it should be -1. And then what would you say at -4? Good. Yes, good. I was going to ask that next. Okay, absolute minimum is -1 at x equals -4. Okay? And then Kelly pointed out, remember, your work is only accepted if it is labeled. So my chart right now is worth no points. I wouldn't get any points for this justify. Okay, so what am I going to label it with? This is obviously x, but what goes on the other side? G of x. Good. Okay. All right, then last part, we want points of inflection. That's G double prime. What did we say G double prime is? The slope of f. So put marks, put x's wherever your slope changes sign. There should be 1, 2, 3. Okay, where's the first place that I'm going to put my x? -3. Where else? Okay, 1 and then 2. Okay, should I put 1 at 0? No, this is why. What happens to your slope? Your slope is negative and then it does what? Stays negative. That doesn't count. So a lot of times people will put 0. That actually is wrong and you'll lose the point. Okay, if it's negative and then still negative, that doesn't count as a POI. Okay? So we would put x equals -3, 1, and 2. And then you'll notice that I put my justification first. Okay, just while I was waiting on you to look at it. Okay, but you would put G double prime, which is the slope of f, changes sign. And then remember, for POIs, it doesn't matter which order. You just have to make sure that you put that it does change sign. And then somebody at a different school, when I was doing like a Saturday, they put that their teacher had said to put changes direction, no point. Okay, this is why. Did my slope here, did it change direction at 0? Yes. Did it change sign though? No. So don't pick your own words if they're not right. So changing direction, not good enough. Changes sign, good enough. Okay? All right, turn the page. Okay, I want you to scan through the question and find where second fundamental theorem comes up. It's not in the whole question. A, B, C, D. Which part is going to have fundamental theorem in it? Do you see it? You see it in there? Get it? Where is it? Okay, part C. How do you know? Because you have a function from a fixed point to x in an integral. Okay, that's your clue that you're doing second fundamental theorem. Okay, so I'll do parts A and B with you, then you're going to do C and D on your own. Okay, part A, and all this stuff is about to come back. We're almost done with new material, and then we're going to be reviewing for the AP test. Okay, so it says to find extremum. What is the difference, between an extrema and an extremum? Yes, it's plural versus singular, right? So you can have like an alumni, alumnus, right? So that's what it is for this one. So if it says extrema, that means there could be more than one. This is singular, so don't let that throw you off. That's still just extrema, okay? Same thing. So if I want to know when f has extrema, am I going to be looking at the f row, the f prime row, or the f double prime row? F prime. Look at F prime. When does it change sign? And notice it says there's only one because it made it singular. 2. What happens? Everything before it was positive, everything after it was negative. So does that make it a min or a max? Good. So relative max at x equals 2 because f prime of x changes positive to negative. Okay, and notice they're not trying to trick you on this one with a random graph of g or anything. They're giving you f, they're asking you a basic question about it. Okay, now part B, they want you to sketch a graph. So we're going to set up a first and a second derivative test. Okay, this will be my first derivative test, second derivative test. Okay, and we basically just did the first derivative test. Where did I have a max? At what point? 2. So it goes from plus to minus. And if f prime rho goes from plus to minus, what does f rho do? It goes from increasing to decreasing. Okay, so now you look at the f double prime rho, and then put your possible points of inflection and then the signs on there.
So extrema is if there's like multiple, and extremum just means there's one. So that's why it says there's a minimum or maximum. It's because there's not one of each. There's literally just one.
Okay, second derivative test. When does it change sign? Changes a couple places. Okay, at 1, at 2, and at 3, right? So 1, 2, 3. And remember, you want to try to line those up with each other, okay? So f double prime goes from negative to positive to negative to positive. So negative, positive, which means it's concave down, up, up. Okay, now, normally, I don't know if you remember me telling you this, I think yesterday, but it doesn't really matter how steep you make it, you just have to kind of sketch it, right? Do you remember that? Okay, if they give you points, you have to hit those points. So look at your F row. They gave you several ordered pairs. You have to hit every single one of those. So at 0, what should F of 0 be? What should F be? -1. So when I draw my graph at 0, I should be at -1 right here. I'm going to put a dot. Okay, now scooch over. At 1, what should my value be? 0. So 1, 0 needs to be an ordered pair. So I'm going to make sure that I touch that dot. Okay, then my next dot is going to be here, which is what? 2, 2. Now remember, we're looking at the F row, not the F prime row. Okay, and then for my 3 dot, it should be where? 3, 0. So I'm back on the x-axis at 3. And I think that makes it a lot easier because then you're just connecting the 2 points basically one at a time. So from 0 to 1, what is my graph doing? Increasing how? Concave down. So sketch that. You're going to connect these 2 points, increasing but concave down. Sketch it. Okay, then we'll check it in a second. Okay, then your next 2 points, what should you be doing? Increasing, but how? Concave up. So do that. Okay, then your next one and your next one. Okay? Yeah, they have to be concave. Well, you have to connect them but curved. So think about how you're going to bow your graph. That is right. Well, no, that is perfect. Don't erase it. It's good. Okay, so your first set should go like this. Did you get it? Your second set is uphill, concave up. It should go like that. Then this is where it gets weird. Okay, it has to be going down, but concave down. It has to go like that. And then my last little section, I'm still going down, but I'm doing it concave up, which would be like that. Now, quick question, just to kind of connect the dots for you. No pun intended. Okay, what was F prime at 2, it said? DNE. Can I have a cusp there then? Yes. What's the slope at a cusp? Doesn't exist, right? So this graph should make you more confident. Also, what did I say I was supposed to have at 2? A max. Do I have a max at 2? Yes, right? Make sense? Yes. Okay, so go down to part C. Okay, this is where your second fundamental theorem comes in. It says, let G be this function. Okay, then it says, find where G has an extremum. How many is G going to have if they use the word extremum? 1 or more than 1? Extrema is plural, so extremum is 1. Good. Okay, and so find it, and then it says it's going to have a max or a min. Okay, and then really you should be able to do part D as well.
Ready? We're just starting on part C, okay? So the first thing you're gonna have to do, you wanna know where it has a max or min. Is it gonna be G, G prime, or G double prime? For a max. Would it be G, G prime, or G double prime? Huh? Or if you're gonna try to find a max. Okay, so let's wake up, okay? Because you're taking the AP test. As you're coming back here. Okay, so if you want G to have a max or min, that's G prime, which is what? G is the integral of f. Would just be what? So G prime equals. And then now I need to take the derivative of this. Wait, were you going? Okay, so then what do you do when you take the derivative of the integral? Yep. And then you'd be looking at the f of x row in the chart. And you want it to change sign. Yes? We're starting notice part 2 tomorrow. It's chain rule. So if it has an asterisk, don't do it until after tomorrow.
Okay, so the first thing that you should have done is found G prime. And if G has an integral of f in it, then G prime is just normal f of x. And then you should have looked in the f row. Does it ever change sign? Yes, where does it change sign? Okay, it changes sign negative to positive at 1 and then positive to negative at 2. So x equals 1, x equals 2. Okay, at 1, what type is it? X equals 1, it changes from negative to positive. That's a relative minimum. And then x equals 2 is a relative maximum. Yeah. Oh, yes, it is 3. Thank you. Okay? Then from there, I want you to write your because. And we'll see if you get it right. Okay, you should have put because G prime of x, which is really f of x, changes from negative to positive. And then the other one would have been from positive to negative. Okay, now, didn't I tell you all there would only be one? Okay, that's because I was lazy and I didn't look at the whole question. Look what it says right here. It says, find all values, right? So there could be more than one from that. That's why we got 2. Okay, then last part. We want the points of inflection. That would be G what? G double prime. So write down what G double prime is. And then you're going to look in that row of the chart to see where you have a sign change. It would be f prime of x. Very good. That's right. So for part D, you would put G double prime of x is really f of x. And that changes sign f of x. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. F prime of x at 2. And then somebody in second period was like, well, don't we have to put the slope? Okay, here's the difference. Do you have to put the slope if they didn't even give you a graph? No, you're not looking at a graph, right? F prime is already a row labeled in the chart that they gave you. So that's why, for this problem, you wouldn't have to state that because they didn't start you off with a graph. They started you off with a chart. Okay? Good. Okay, we don't have time to do all of these, but I want you to just skip to part, actually, go to the last one and just do A and B. We should be able to finish this before we leave. you can already do A and B. Yep, wait, is it the last one? Yep, so then just the first two. Okay, so you're starting off with finding G of 3. Okay, so what do we do? Here's the wrong one here. Yeah, okay, G3. So you're going to take the 3, plug it in as the top, and you'll do area. Just this next packet? Yeah, you need a new one? You just want a picture of it? Yeah. I can just let you take a picture of second periods if you want. Okay, you should be getting a perfect square for part A. What'd you get? 9, good, that's right. Okay, and then also, I noticed a lot of y'all are splitting that triangle up. You don't have to do that. You can. Okay, but if you're going from -3 to 3, f of t dt, okay, this is already one triangle. You don't have to break it up. What's the base? 5. What's the height? 4. What's 5 times 4? 20, so altogether it's half is 10. So you can break it up. I think one side it looks like came out to be 6, and the other one was 4. But you don't have to. It's just base times height over 2. Okay, and then this piece came out to be 1. So it would have been 9. Okay, part B is where I kind of want to focus. So it says I want G to be increasing and concave down. So if G is going to be increasing, what do I care about? G prime or G double prime? And what do I need it to be if I want it to be increasing? Okay, positive. And then if I want it to be concave down, what do I want? G double prime to be what? Negative. But then remember, you're not looking at G, you're looking at F. So if this is G prime is positive, what is that really in my graph? F needs to be positive. And if I want G double prime to be negative, what do I really want? F prime to be negative. So you could make a whole big sign chart. I wouldn't do that. I would just look for when is F positive, meaning above, and then when is F prime, the slope, negative. When are you above with a negative slope? -5 to -3 and 0 to 2. Good. So for part B, we'll finish this one tomorrow, but it'd be -5 to -3 and then 0 to 2. And then we'll finish that tomorrow. Good job, people. Post it to what? I mean, I already posted the video. Yeah. I mean, the only thing is I'm going to have to go all the way down and scan it versus you just taking a picture of it while you're sitting literally right here. You know what I mean?
Scan it, appreciate it.
Thanks. Thanks, Deborah.
I know. Not making a
So you already have a job teaching calculus or an offer? Yeah. Yeah.
And when can I take this?
So I can let you take it home if you want, because they got to work together on it and take it home, or you can come in after school. kind of up to you.
I think that's a good one.
Okay. And then do what you can, and if you need help, then you can ask me. I'll stay after today, tomorrow, and
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Actually, I started writing my essay after the museum because I was anxious. I was scared of the reply, so I was like, no, I have to write my essay.
Have a good day!